Ah, it is so good to be with you. And thank you for that welcome, Jim. I am a licensed practitioner. I am from the New Vision Spiritual Living, and it is always a delight to get to be here with you on a Sunday morning. And here we are at the end of March. It's been quite a month. It's been quite a year already, from what I hear. The designing your life. What is the theme already? It's yes, life by design, right? And this is the month where you've been really leaning into change. That change is the mechanism through which we experience expansion, and that unless we are willing to accept change, we can't actually grow beyond our current experience or our current conditions into the expressions of love, joy, abundance, and purpose that is ready to be born within us. So I'm curious, you've been through what, 4 different talks on change, and do you have it down pat? Are you good to go? Are you like no more issues? Got this change thing figured out? Because I have a little talk here that's ready to go, but we could also just go to brunch. You have my purse there. We could just, you want to just go? And online, maybe you've got something else you want to do. No? Oh, all right. Well, Rev Jill isn't here. She might not know. And it was her idea to lean into change. So maybe she'd like give us a high five on the other side. Any takers? All right. I'm curious, what came up for you just now as I posed like a shift in what we're doing right here? Penny's ready to go. Yeah, maybe you felt a flutter of excitement and a readiness, that possibility. Or maybe you're like, oh gosh, what is she going to do next? I'm a little nervous about what's going to come out of Rachel's mouth. For now, just notice what is present in your thoughts, in your emotions, and in your physical body. And just take a gentle breath in and out. And I suppose let's stay with the topic of change for one more Sunday. Because as it turns out, change presents an ongoing edge of growth for us humans. There's a German psychologist, Nicholas Westerhoff, who affirms new experiences may bring innovation and awakening, but also chaos and insecurity. And so most people dream of novelty, but hold fast to the familiar. Today, we're going to explore the posture of willingness as a way to embrace change and rediscover what happens when we fully surrender to the unknown, which, as is bound to happen, ignites some sneaky fear. And instead of skirting around that discomfort, I was thinking maybe we're just going to turn and directly face it. So, are you willing to dive in with me? Okay, ready or not? Take a moment and consider your experience and relationship to fear. Notice what comes to mind. Maybe a memory lit up in you, a time when you broke out in a cold sweat or didn't know what was going to happen next. Or maybe there's a part of you that's like, oh, fear, come on. Nah, not me. I'm not afraid of anything. When I was thinking about this for myself, a memory popped up from when I lived in Oak Park, Illinois in my 20s. I had gone to a friend's apartment. She lived downtown, and it was in an older building. And I had to take an elevator to get to her floor. And I'm not a huge fan of elevators in general, and this one seemed just a little bit rickety. But as I stepped into the elevator, there were others alongside me, and I thought, all right, I'm going to go for it. Luckily, the elevator got me to her floor. I got to hang out with my friend, and all was well. When I went to leave, I was the only one in the elevator. So I gingerly stepped in, and I watched the doors close, and I took a big breath and just tried to relax as I waited for the doors to open at the bottom. And I waited, and I waited, And then I panicked because I was certain that I was trapped in the elevator and was probably going to be a pile of bones by the time anybody was able to get me out. And I looked for the emergency button to push or something to pull, and frantically I jammed my finger at the doors open button. I thought, maybe if the door's open and it's caught between levels, I'm going to be able to like scramble out and get to safety. I'm going to escape certain death. Well, when the doors opened, I was still on the same floor as my friend's apartment. I realized I had failed to push the button to tell the elevator to take me to the ground floor. I blinked back my panic tears, took another deep breath, and pushed the correct button. Moments later, the doors opened and I went on my merry way. Oh gosh, but fear can do this to us. It can be a doozy. It tells us to stop, beware, watch out, so that we can stay alive. The unknown could be death, so don't venture there. Stay where it's familiar, known, and predictable. Avoid the chaos. Avoid anything that triggers insecurity. Stay alive. The thing is, here we are. We are alive. But to what degree are we living? To what degree are we embodying the essence of life breathed into us upon our birth? Does it actually make sense to build our lives bracing against what we are afraid of? In her book, Big Magic, author Elizabeth Gilbert, she writes about fear as a mundane aspect of our personality, not a characteristic of our inherent uniqueness. Avoiding discomfort, chaos, insecurity, worry, and the unknown, it's something we all do. And Gilbert says, you don't get any special credit for knowing how to be afraid of the unknown. You don't get any special credit for knowing how to be afraid of the unknown. Fear is deeply ancient instinct, but it ain't especially smart. Instead, she describes fear as a mass-produced item available on the shelves of any generic box store. And is that what we're really organizing our lives around? In her words, the most boring instinct we possess. Yet this is what so many of us do. We steer clear of different, or we guard against the unpredictable, and we do our darndest to manage conditions that are actually outside of our control. Sometimes we even tell ourselves that to do the different thing would actually limit us. And it's better to just be complacently detached, that to stay the same actually provides more opportunity and freedom, and to change would be suffocating or restricting, or something might go wrong. Have you ever told yourself a version of that story? Fear wears many different costumes, but regardless of what it looks like, its agenda remains the same. Stay small. Stay here. Stay in the known. We convince ourselves to heed the impulse and believe that small is fine and here is good and the known is safe, which it is. But when fear is behind our actions and beliefs, we won't be able to really receive the good or rest in safety or feel satisfied. As long as we are being driven by fear, there will always be an edge of concern. A what if, or when will the other shoe drop? As long as fear is driving the bus, safety is always an illusion. Fear is an essential instinct that has gotten a little out of hand. It's a little overgrown in our neural circuits and is often misguiding us away from our divine impulse towards growth and expansion, the eternal spiraling up. Fear wants us to stay put, but the nature of life itself wants to expand and express to greater and greater degrees. When we overemphasize fear, we limit our capacity to fully embody the possibility alive at the center of our being. The founder of our teaching, Ernest Holmes, talks about fear's misplaced faith, that when we function from fear, we are essentially saying that we don't believe in a power greater than we are to guide, guard, and bless us. In the Science of Mind textbook, he says, God's creative power of mind is right here. We have as much of this power to use as we believe in and embody. The storehouse of nature is filled with infinite good, awaiting the touch of our awakened thought to spring forth into manifestation in our lives. But the awakening must be within our thought. This calls us to pay attention to the thoughts that are back of our actions. If there is any level of fear, we're invited to discern, am I actually in danger in this moment? Or is it just a perception that isn't rooted in reality? Will following the impulse of my fear help me grow in the direction that I most desire for myself? If there is no discernible danger, to continue to follow the impulse of fear is to remain living a limited life. To choose a new path, even when we aren't certain about what comes next, is the way to reveal our greater yet to be. And the truth is, we can continue to be fear-driven for as long as we want. There's no need to actually do anything different. However, what I know about the human condition is that it isn't satisfying to the soul. At some point, we can't help but wonder, is this really it? Is this all life has to offer me? And the answer, of course, is no. Life has everything to offer you that you desire. But as Ernest Holmes tells us, it can only do for us what it can do through us. It's waiting the touch of our awakened thought to be embodied in and live out through us. It's about knowing so deeply who we are as one in the infinite oneness of life that we be that in the world, starting right where we are. So let's just say that you're feeling a little spicy, a bit adventuresome, and you're like, okay, Rach, I'm ready to shift away from fear driving the bus, but it just keeps taking the steering wheel. How do I get it to go away? Well, first of all, I'm so glad you asked. Second of all, I've got some good news and some bad news. Which do you want first? The bad news. Well, we'll call it the news you may not want to hear. Here's the thing. Fear is so baked into us and part of our survival wiring. It may never go away in our lifetime. So when we are hooked to this idea that I just want to never feel fear again, that might not be a reality. The key, however, is to learn to tolerate its noise so that we can discern when it is helpful to follow and when it just isn't, which leads us then to the good news. The fancy functioning of our survival brain to stay alive through fear isn't the end of our neural computing potential. Neuroplasticity is an even fancier function that refers to our brain's ability to learn and to adapt. It's an internal rewiring process that allows our minds to grow and meet new and increased demands. And not just until we hit middle age or we think we're close to our warranty expiring. It's available for everyone under the sun, no matter how many times we've been around the sun. The good news is that we get to be conscious collaborators in our neural upleveling. To get the most bang for our buck, we have to intentionally activate it. Kind of like if you want really buff biceps, you're not just going to like think about what they're going to look like or cut out pictures from a fitness magazine about all these like biceps that might one day be yours. You're probably also going to need to maybe go and lift some weights. So those of us who have been in the teaching, we know this as like treat and move your feet. When we know what we want and we actively move towards it, we begin building the neural pathway that takes us there. In fact, when we feel the impulse of fear to go back the other way and down the path of the familiar and the known, and we don't take it, that sends a surge of energy through our system that teaches us that we can do it differently and be okay. Over time, that old, well-worn pathway becomes overgrown and undesirable. The more we do things in a new way with conscious awareness and choice, the more well-worn these new neural pathways become, over time making it the new default rather than the way of fear. The invitation is to allow yourself to face situations where your flavor of fear is awakened and do something differently. It means showing up mindfully so that you're tuned in to when it happens. And it can also mean practicing in low stakes ways so that you're more poised and ready when it happens. For me, this looks like playing a game called Bananagrams. Is anybody familiar? Oh, it's a fabulous, fabulous game where each player uses Scrabble type letter tiles to build their own interconnected word grid without a board or taking turns. So you start with a pile of letters, and once you incorporate them all into your grid, you yell peel, and you have to take a new letter. Everybody that's playing has to take a new letter, and you have to incorporate that into your board. And then you yell peel again and incorporate that letter. And you continue in that manner until all the letters are taken and someone is the first to complete their grid. The process starts very easily enough. You turn your letters over and you start to see the words bubble up and you fit them together. And then somebody yells peel and you take a letter and you're like, oh, S, that's fine. I can make this word over here a plural. Or, oh, I just drew an F and oh, that fits right under this O to make a. Very easy breezy, right? And then maybe you draw a Q or the fifth I in a row, and suddenly it isn't so easy to just plug into whatever you have going. I love this game because it gives me a low stakes way to practice facing moments when things don't seem to be going the way that I want them to go, the way that I think they should go. And I'm faced with a choice, which, as we've already established, naturally tickles fear. In this game, I can sit and wait for someone else to yell peel and hope that I get the exact letter that I'm thinking of to keep my board going. But I might be waiting for a while, and in the meantime, have a backlog of collected letters that are not getting played. It's limiting my ability to continue effectively playing the game. I can do that. Or I can consider my willingness to dismantle what I have, intentionally stepping into chaos and insecurity in service of experiencing something new. And we have a little footage of what this can look like. Oh, that's so moving, isn't it? Oh my goodness. Grown off, forced, moan. Ah, what? Oh, goodness gracious. Ah, freedom from change. What? Waiting for the tears, waiting for something. Yeah. So this moment of time when we're facing like what is so just might not be working so hot. Again, we can stay there or we can consider readiness to change. Now, in this game, it can feel especially difficult when what I have is impressive and so well constructed. And I can see clearly that if I just drew the T, that everything would work out and I could win. I feel a level of attachment to what is so. And I'm worried that scrambling my letters will put me further behind and maybe I won't sort it out in time. A sort of death blinks at me. Like, is that really what you want to do? Again, this is about touching fear in a low stakes way, noticing the impulse to stay small, stay here, and stay safe. The impulse to steer clear of chaos and insecurity. It's an invitation to consider my readiness and willingness to directly dive into it anyways and see what happens. So willingness, what is this whole thing about willingness? Willingness is about creating space to be with resistance, discomfort, fear, the impulse to react or make wrong. Willingness is an action and an attitude that reveals our capacity to tolerate discomfort and what we previously shunned as intolerable. When we practice willingness, we engage in building those new neural pathways that affirm we can face fear and not be done in. Considering our willingness is a way to bridge the gap between where we have been and where we want to go. It's a posture that can gently hold fear in one hand and possibility in the other, creating an opportunity to consciously choose what happens next. When we practice willingness to be with what is so without reacting from fear, we create space to embrace our birthright of freedom. This is one of the core principles of Centers for Spiritual Living, the organization that teaches this science of mind philosophy. And it says, freedom is the birthright of every individual. We are free to choose and create our experience of life. Freedom is the state we experience when every quality of God, think about eternal qualities of love, joy, peace, wisdom, unity. When every quality of God is activated within us in balance, no push, no pull, no hustle, no discord. When we embody freedom, we rise above our default survival programming into our nature as divine beings. Recognizing freedom as our birthright reveals an opportunity to reframe our understanding about change away from, it's destruction, it's distress, it's bad, and towards a natural reallocation of our resources, energy, of ideas that opens the storehouse doors of nature to shower us with infinite good. Back to my bananagrams board, when I face that moment of things not working as is, the new tiles not jiving with the already placed words, I can remind myself that change is an opportunity to exercise my belief in the good of life and get curious about how what I already have can be reallocated to move me from this place of stuckness to one of possibility. When I make that decision to scramble the tiles, I notice the swirl of energy and affirm my capacity to tolerate discomfort. I take a deep breath and begin the process of rebuilding a new board. And in that moment, whether I win the external game or not, I already know that I've internally won, surrendering the fear and taking another step towards embodying the infinite good of life. In this way, I practice being a conscious co-creator with the divine, embracing that I am always at choice for how I respond. While it's true that change is inevitable, the way we meet it is always up to us. Ernest Holmes says, nature will not let us stay in any one place too long. She will let us stay just long enough to gather the experience necessary to the unfolding and advancement of the soul. This is a wise provision, for should we stay here too long, we should become too set, too rigid, too inflexible. Nature demands the change in order that we may advance. When the change comes, we should welcome it with a smile on the lips and a song in the heart. This happens to come from a section in the Science of Mind textbook where Holmes is talking about immortality. But I think it's appropriate to consider it in light of our earthly unfolding. The impulse to unfold and make advances is from the inside out. We actually already have within us exactly what we need every step along the way. Are we willing to trust that and welcome it with a smile on our lips and a song in the heart? Are we willing to release the grip on fear of the unknown in service of our own up-leveling and becoming more than we ever imagined was possible? The other night, I asked my daughter how she feels about change. She looked at me thoughtfully, scanning her memories for a time that change occurred. She described a significant point of change in our lives when I separated from my ex-husband, her stepfather, and we moved out of the house we loved, away from my stepdaughters, her stepsisters, away from a life that we both really cherished. She was clear that she did not want any of that change, but she didn't fight it. I asked her what helped her to accept it, and she talked about feeling confident that whatever happened next would be okay. She trusted it would all work out, that we would be okay. And guess what? That's precisely what unfolded. In fact, if I slow down and think through all the challenging times I've had in life, the truth is that every single thing ended up working out and I've been okay. Okay, not meaning the same as before the thing happened, but okay, meaning stronger, wiser, and more resilient. This gives me confidence that whatever I face now or next will follow that same pattern. I realize I'm willing to drop my impulse to fight and struggle. I'm willing to soften into the knowing that all is well and all is well and all manner of things is well. And what about for you? Are you willing to see that this is likely true for you too? That regardless of the challenges you have faced, there is something about your own unfolding through them that reveals you are not the same as before they occurred. That you are, in fact, more strong, more wise, more loving. Are you willing to drop your impulse to fight or struggle against change and to embrace the truth that all is well right here and right now? This is my hope for you, to know in every cell of your being that divine freedom is revealed as you're willing to embrace change, opening the storehouse doors and welcoming in the infinite good of life itself. So as we go from here, I have a few spiritual practices if you would like to dabble in this week. And so the first thing is to pay attention to the thoughts that are back of your actions. And if there's any level of fear, pause and ask, am I actually in danger in this moment? Or is this just a... Remember, if there is no discernible danger, to continue to follow the impulse of fear is to remain living a limited life. To choose a new path, even when you aren't certain what comes next, is the way to reveal your greater yet to be. Second thing, exercise your neuroplasticity. Consider your willingness to do something new, unusual, or just slightly different from your typical pattern. What might be your low stakes way of facing fear and doing something differently? Notice how it feels, that you can tolerate discomfort, and celebrate that you are embracing and stretching your capacity to keep growing and expanding. And number 3, let go of resistance. Slow down, soften, relax, exhale, open your palms, uncross your legs, embody a posture of letting go. Letting it be an affirmation of your willingness to surrender into your own divine unfolding. Add a smile on your face and a song in your heart for extra neural programming. I think in this moment, I'm going to actually pause and open it up before we anchor this in with prayer. If there's anybody that has any thoughts they want to share, what maybe came up for you in this moment, and no pressure, But is there anything that is sort of bubbling up for you as we have moved through this talk together?
I like that phrase, conscious co-creation. And letting go of resistance is something I need to work on. Who else has something that they might want to ask or share?
I'm Cheryl. And, it's really hard to let go of fear in the political climate that we're in. And for me, that's a constant challenge because of the unknown that there is and the sense of it's easy to feel powerless. We had a day yesterday where we could stand up for a different way, and some of us did, and that was good. But it is a continual challenge to handle that sense of fear. And I think the things that you have spoken, Rachel, and that conscious awareness and meditation and other ways we have of grounding ourselves are some ways of handling that. I don't, maybe other people have something to contribute to that too. How do we do that?
I think you named something that's just really true. Like it's front and center. This is a condition that we're being faced with now. And so it can really spark that part of us that is afraid of the unknown and make it feel like that is what is true. And so this is an invitation to think about it differently and to see through the condition that is now and trust that this isn't the end of the story. And that if we're willing to start right where we are and do those embodied gestures of standing up and speaking from where we are, that's what we get to contribute to rippling out what it is that we want in the world. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Thank you. And so just know that what is stirring for you in this moment is just right. That this is not an end of the story. All is done, all is well. We dust our hands and go on our merry way. This is an ongoing invitation to live and to find our way through in the unknown. So let's anchor our time together in prayer. Join me. And so I take a breath into this now moment. And I recognize again that there is still only one power, one presence, and one infinite mind that is back of all of life, that it is that which hovered over the face of the deep and called all that is, was, or ever will be into existence. And what I know about this one is that its nature is divine love, deep wisdom, perfect order, and freedom of all discord. And I see this unfolding in the conditions of life around me. And when I don't see it, I remember that it is the truth at the back of all. And as it is one, and as it is all there is, I know it must be that which I am. I remember again that there is no space between me and that which called me into being. And as I know this for myself, I know this on behalf of each beloved gathered here, that we are one in the one. And so the nature of the one is alive in, through, and as each one. That we are divine love. That perfect order is unfolding through us right where we are. That deep wisdom is alive here. And that freedom from discord is available with each breath. And so I speak my word on behalf of our experience now, knowing that despite the conditions that we see, we come back with courage to the moment of choice that we find ourselves in. And we take whatever the right next step is for our own unfoldment and upleveling in life, releasing fear, releasing the belief in limitation, letting go of those patterns that tell us to stay small or to stay quiet or to stay here. And that as we do that, and as we take those steps forward that are revealed to us, the pathway becomes clear. Not because we knew it ahead of time, but because our courage to step forward reveals it. And so I know that freedom is being revealed. I know that that is the truth. And we don't have to see the end point right now. All we need to do is trust the next step that we take. And so I give thanks for knowing this, that as I speak these words, it is what is so. That as these words are placed into the action of the law, that it cannot help but say yes, that that is the way of life. And so with confidence and with gratitude, I simply release this word into the action of the law. I let it go. I let it be. And so it is.